Always, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
Super. Good. Inglewood. Purple rain falling down on the prince of the coast where the sun shine all year round. Purple haze over landscape, still I hydrate in the lunch line with the smog and clouds. Would start me out. This song's in the key of life, and love is in need of more. Young from Inglewood, barefoot on the cedar floor. If black music is the blood, then my heart has been beating more. Rapidly, happily, I look back on the Afeni Shakur. Her son paved the way. Now all eyes on me, cause I'm young, black, and gifted. Nina, all eyes gon' see. If you swung back when faced with a challenge that's meant to break you and balance scales, you ain't average. Now throw your hands on three. Gon' put them up for black magic,
black excellence, black habits, this black medicine, everything
black chucks, black tucks, everything.
Everything
black hug, black love, everything.
Praise black Jesus, play black Moses. Give them flowers while they still give black roses. Everything
black tie, black ride, everything.
Everything
black pride, black lives, everything. Skin noir, friends noir, here you are, black. Everything you need, better believe you are that. Skin noir, friends noir, here you are, black.
KBLA Talk 1580. And I'm glad you're still riding with me. If you don't know, you can find us on YouTube streaming at KBLA 1580. You can find us on Facebook, same thing. And also, we have an app. The app makes it really convenient to listen on your phone. If you're trying to get it together for the election, I suggest you find our podcasted interviews of candidates. They are free wherever you get your pods. I'm being joined now by my colleague. He's a journalist. He writes for the LA Progressive. He's a podcaster. He's a film festival curator, and he has his own show here on KBLA 1580 Saturday mornings. James Farr, welcome.
Good morning, Dominique. How are you?
I'm blessed. How you doing?
You know what? I'm good. I'm up. I'm active. It's a good day. You're active. You getting it with the candidates. We got some interesting conversations.
Well, I know you had quite a few on while I was on vacation, so thank you for holding it down. I think you interviewed about 700 candidates in 1 week. So good job.
It's 23, but nobody's counting.
So our Think Tank Thursday question today is how to figure out who to vote for in the California governor's race, only because I have talked to so many people, especially progressives, but others as well, who just haven't made up their mind, and that is what is holding them back from casting their ballot. They've got everything else sort of scoped out and are still very torn in the governor's race. Do you have a formula? Do you have a thought? Have you figured it out, James Farr?
Figured it out. No, I don't think I've completely figured it out, but what I have, I've come to a point where I have made a decision. I'm not going to strike the ballot yet. I'm going to wait to see if that particular candidate unearns my vote, right? Like, you never know what's going to happen.
So that's the question, is how long do you wait? You know what, last night I came up with
8 o'clock on the 2nd.
Okay, 8 p.m.? So you want to be standing right next to the poll center when it closes. So get in at 7:59 before it closes. You know what? I was thinking last night that we should not put our ballots in the mail. If you're going to use your mail-in ballot, I feel like we should put it in a county drop box or drop it off at a voting center. I just don't even want to have my vote in federal custody. This cycle at all. You know what I'm saying? The post office is federal custody. They can do shenanigans with delivery. The Trump administration has already said that they don't, if it doesn't arrive on election day, they're not going to count it. So they could lie and say stuff came after election day. I'm just feeling like we shouldn't put our ballots in federal custody. Just keep them in the county. That's how I feel at this point.
I want to agree with you, and there's a but. I don't want to discourage folks who may have access to the ballot issues where the mail may be their only option.
Yeah, true.
But I'm with you, though. I'm old school. I'm going to go I typically will fill my ballot out and then go drop it. But sometimes, I really enjoy the process of walking to the polling place and going in there and punching the ballot.
Yeah, I used to do that to be an example for my child, but now that he's in college, mail-in ballot all day, baby, and I just take it to the actual polling place. But you're right. If that's your main option for how to, and your only option for how to vote, put it in the mail. Just give it 5-6 days.
It's to absolutely go to the mailbox.
Yeah, 5, 6, 7 days out though. Give yourself plenty of time for it to arrive. Okay, James, your show, the Conversation Live, Altadena Rising, is really tasked with tracking what's going on with the fire recovery in a very granular way, and you're having another special event.
Yes, this evening, along with LA Fire Justice, who is a law collective that's been doing amazing work in terms of engaging community with the needs, whether you're a client or not. We've curated a series of conversations which will be taking place over the next few months. And tonight we're talking about generational wealth and generational justice. And something that I've come to learn, Dominique, through this process, when we think about generational wealth, it's an abstract. You may think that's $10 million. You may think that's $100 million. Well, you can't build a house here for less than $1 million, right? And so what I'm learning when we talk about generational wealth, what that meant to so many people was not liquidity, it's sustainability. And that's a quality of life issue that just keeps surfacing with this disruption on this, man-made event. It's not a natural disaster. It's not a wildfire. This is corporate negligence.
So the conversation about generational wealth, is this like a town hall meeting? What's your format like, and what are people being asked to do, or who should come?
Everyone should come in the community and outside of the community that are interested in this conversation and understanding some of, as you said, the more granular details of this abstract of what generational wealth is. So there's a panel assembled, Veronica Jones, the president of Altadena Historical Society, Brandon Lamar, Project Passion, Jasmine Schuper, who's with Green Line Housing. It's a crack panel of folks who are, really in the community and doing the work. Doug Boxer, who is a lead attorney with LA Fire Justice, will talk about some of the more legal aspects and how folks can protect their estates. It's more information, and that's the first part of it. The other part of it is people still are wanting to be in community and gather. That's also another important component is for that fellowship. Sharing of information.
Yeah, I saw that a lot in the town halls that we did there together, James, that people really appreciated connecting with each other, and that fellowship is part of what seems to be getting folks through a very long and difficult recovery. I keep reading stories about how folks are still struggling and not, on so many different aspects, whether or not the remediation of the toxins in the ground is really thorough, whether or not affordable housing for renters will come back at all, whether or not renters are being included in the recovery in a real way. And then the protests that I'm seeing where folks are calling on Edison to give like a minimum payment to all of the people whose homes were lost, regardless of whether they sign on to the Edison lowball deal. Are we seeing progress? Because it feels like these are the same issues that we've been talking about, and I'm not hearing or reading anything that makes me feel like, oh, well, we got past that.
That's a yes and no, right? Yes, some folks are moving along in that process. I attended a groundbreaking ceremony just a couple of weeks ago for an elderly couple. And then there's others, Dominique, that are still sleeping in the cars just outside down the street from me that have been displaced from the fire. And so July 9th is the deadline for folks to, if they want to appeal their FEMA applications. Governor Newsom has called on the federal government to release the federal aid. You being a fan of Tupac and Digital Underground, I'm sure you can appreciate it's the same song that we were singing this time last year and in the weeks and months immediately following the fire. Some are moving forward, others are moving backwards, and it's still a lot more work to be done. The remediation is still a problem for folks with battling their insurance company. State Farm was just in the news as being found to have kind of stalled the process of people in their claims, underpaying, burying in paperwork. I mean, just what people are having to go through to document the things that they had when everything is gone, it's really unconscionable. So an overhaul in the insurance regulations in the state is an understatement, but what people want to know is what help is available for them now.
Yep. James Farr is my guest, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Your time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Bakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
The joint will be jumping. Ebony Repertory Theater, in association with Fig Street Films, brings you one of the most beloved musicals of all time. Tony Award winner, Ain't Misbehavin'. The soulful, swinging celebration of the music of Fats Waller. From the rollicking to the romantic, this show is pure magic, full of the songs that defined an era and the voices that'll make you forget everything else for a night. Foot stomping, heart stirring, unforgettable. Don't miss Ain't Misbehavin' at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center, starring Lettucey, directed by Ren T. Brown. This is the night out you've been waiting for. Tickets are going fast, so don't wait. Grab yours now at ebonyrep.org or call the box office today at 323-964-9766. Ebony Repertory Theater, bringing the culture, keeping the legacy alive.
Ain't Misbehavin' runs May 21st through June 8th at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Get your tickets now.
The conversation continues right now with Dominic DePrima on First Things First.
It does. We're talking with James Farr. He is he's a writer, journalist with the LA Progressive and other outlets. He's also on the Altadena beat for KBLA Talk 1580 with the Saturday morning show. The Conversation Live, Altadena Rising. Insurance commissioner has become a very hot topic this election cycle, something that most of us often do not pay any attention to whatsoever. And there's a lot of people running for insurance commissioner. That's not our Think Tank Thursday question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. And I know that, the station management has asked us not to endorse, but it's really more about getting information. So, is there any information that you can share that has played out in this race for commissioner that you're seeing in terms of the impact in Altadena?
Absolutely. There have been a few forums here locally where candidates came out. Last week, I moderated a forum for candidate Jane Kim. She received an endorsement from the California Faculty Federation, and will be facilitating some other events. The thing is, Dominic, it's a lot of them are making the campaign promises, right? And what people are really looking to hear is the now. It's important to point out that Altadena, especially that west side of Altadena, the black side of Altadena, has an 80% voter turnout. They're highly engaged. And so, whether it's at the insurance commissioner level or I haven't heard anything that has wowed me from the candidates for governor. I think they're all a bit abstract. They kind of generalize wildfires, even bunch up Altadena and Palisades. And so I just don't think they are as informed on the issues, and that many of them use, when we go to the insurance commissioner's office, it's a stepping stone to another office, or it's a holding place for office. So we'll see. Folks really need to pay attention and read the information on the candidates.
So Jane Kim is the one who is backed by the California Working Party. Most of these folks are Democrats. You got Patrick Wolf, also a Democrat. He's a financial analyst from San Francisco, but he's never held state license. I don't think that Jane Kim has either, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
but he does have an insurance license that he got just to run for office. I'm just kind of giving an overview here. You have Stephen Bradford, who was a state senator and formerly worked for Southern California Edison as an executive. Now, we mostly know Stephen Bradford from the reparations movement, the fight, for Bruce's Beach. I'm surprised California Faculty Association did not weigh in for him, but it sounds like Kim won the endorsement. And then I don't know about this guy, Merritt Farron. He lost his home in the Palisades, and he's a Republican. That's about all I know about that guy. But, just, kind of giving an overview of who is running. I think there's one other person. Yes, there is Ben Allen, also a Democrat. And he is a Democrat also. He says he wants to have state-backed loans for hardening those homes. But a loan is a loan. You got to pay it back. But this guy, is a state senator at the moment.
Yeah, the candidates are talking in the future, Dominique. Hardening homes, right?
Yeah.
And I'm in a community that has no home, right? And so they're not really interested in that part of the conversation. Sure, we need to do things differently. The United States as a whole has antiquated old infrastructure, right? I mean, these are
Right.
things that it's no surprise that the fire hydrants didn't actually work, or the widgets didn't fit, or that the water wasn't. I mean, these are things that you can almost anticipate with such an old infrastructure. And sometimes a sleep at the wheel, sleep at the job, municipal workers. It just is what it is. One day they all are going to have to do their job, and on January 7th, a lot of people failed, thousands of people in Altadena.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Well, the other thing I was reading about is the undergrounding. That's probably not a word, but you know what I'm saying. The burying of the lines that Southern California Edison has been doing, and then people are finding out that they have to pay, the homeowners have to pay up to $10,000 to get connected to the new grid. That on top of the fact that the telephone lines are not being buried, has some homeowners, from what I'm reading, pretty upset.
Yeah, folks, it's cost after cost, right? And so they're calling this the hope gap, right? Most people are suffering. A year ago, they thought it to be $250,000 shortage. That number has ballooned up to a minimum of $500,000.
What?
Is what you're going to be short. And so after you grapple with the insurance, you piece together all these things, and never mind that you may have gotten a community resource of $5 or $10,000, which they're going to deduct from you. People are finding out the additional cost. So Edison is attaching that cost to the homeowners. They've already raised the rates. As you know, they've had record profits. The CEO has received bonuses and pay raises. It is business as usual. And to the point you raised earlier, Edison will not make a one-time payment to impacted families to help them get right, because that's not their fiduciary responsibility. They are only responsible to their shareholders. That's it.
Mm. Well, I think the pressure can only go on so long, and homeowners are going to have to get some relief. So back to our Think Tank Thursday question, I would imagine that for those in Altadena and the Pacific Palisades, the governor's race has to be inclusive of these issues. How well versed are they, and how can they bring relief to some of these homeowners before the pressure causes the pipes to break, metaphorically speaking.
Sure. And the governor's race is very important. The county could do more. The state could do more. Neither entities are interested in establishing a precedent, and they want the federal government to provide the relief, as they should. State funds are tied to the feds. State receives money from sales tax. So it's this whole ecosystem of everybody playing, a shuffle game. Again, I haven't heard anything from the candidates that really has dialed in. I know one candidate has visited Altadena. That's Tom Steyer. I'm not saying other candidates have not, but I ain't heard about it. I wasn't invited, so it really makes you question whether or not they are actually here. But, neither did our president, right?
Yes, neither did our president.
I applaud Mayor Bass and Supervisor Barger for making that long flight to Washington to meet with the president, and I hope they enjoy the Bible that he gave them. The folks here would have appreciated a check.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you got to do what you got to do when you're messing with him, I guess. That's part of their job. So tell us again about your event tonight, James Farr, and who can go and how to go.
Absolutely. Everyone is invited. It is a conversation. We're talking about generational wealth and preserving generational wealth and some of the nuance that folks are dealing with. It's at the Teamster Center, which is located at 2050 Lincoln Avenue. It's right, you know this, Dominic, it's right across the street from Perry's joint, right on the border of Altadena, and Perry will be providing the refreshments tonight. So come eat, bring your family, bring your questions, come prepared to listen, engage, and be informed.
Okay. Is there a website or an Instagram or something folks can go to?
Yeah, they can visit lafirejustice.com or call 626-684-3315 for more information. You can check my socials, James Farr Live, across all of the social platforms, and, of course, KBLA's social as well.
Okay, good stuff. And remind us how to find you, James, this weekend.
This Saturday, 10 a.m., live with a replay on Sundays at 11 a.m., only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Indeed, that's where you can find James, and that's where you can stay abreast of what's happening with the fire recovery in Altadena. It's so difficult during the election, you know this, James, because we have a lot on our plates with the 20-something candidates that you interviewed last week, and however many I have this week and next week. We're doing our best to make sure you're prepared. That's why we call ourselves your election information station. But in between, we want to make sure we keep up on things like Altadena fire recovery and what we are tracking in this country nationally and internationally. So hour 3 today, we'll be talking with an expert on extremism, and her name is Dr. Cynthia Miller-Idris, and how that's impacting the election, the nation, and our future. And next hour will be, not next hour, right after News, Traffic, and Sports, we'll be hearing from Gloria Marin, who is running to be an L.A. County Municipal Court judge. We've got a lot to talk about. Thanks again, James. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Where the overlooked become unmissable, this is KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Esther Dillard with BIN News Now. ICE will not help with security at the 8 FIFA World Cup matches at SoFi Stadium. On Tuesday, Catherine Schlossman, CEO of the Los Angeles World Cup 2026 host committee, initially said ICE would be there for safety and security.
We are continuing to have conversations. What they share with us and not share with us is their decision.
Officials made the clarification on Tuesday after questions came up about ICE agents possibly being deployed to the stadium next month. Governor Brian Kemp is calling for a special session on June 17th to address redistricting and to redraw the state's political maps. Black Democratic Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock spoke out against this, saying it's targeting black and brown voters. And Dr. William Finlayson passed away this week at the age of 101. He was one of the first black physicians in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CummonsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers snapped a 4-game losing streak Wednesday night with a 4-0 win over San Francisco at Dodger Stadium. Shohei Ohtani was not in the batting lineup, but he was impressive on the mound. He allowed only 4 hits in 7 innings and struck out 8. The Dodgers have been struggling lately. The 2-time World Series champions are 4-9 since April 27th. Former Dodgers outfielder Jason Hayward, one of only 2 African Americans on the Dodgers roster over the past 3 seasons, has been hired as a special assistant in the Dodgers organization. The 36-year-old Hayward, a 5-time Gold Glove winner, retired in March after 16 seasons in Major League Baseball. Charlie Neal, longtime voice of HBCU sports, passed away Wednesday. Neal was 80. Neal was at BET for 24 years before moving over to ESPN in 2005 to continue his outstanding HBCU coverage. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for State Superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee. Not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Tired of traffic? Metro D-Line runs Wilshire now with 3 new stops from downtown LA to Beverly Hills. No parking, no stress. Metro D-Line, the faster way across LA.
Let me tell you something about Los Angeles. This city doesn't have small problems, so it damn sure doesn't need small, weak leadership. That's why I support Karen Bass. She walked into a system that was slow, broken, and reluctant to change. She cut through red tape and started moving people off the streets into housing. She created the Office of Community Safety to make our neighborhoods safer, supported wage increases for many underpaid workers, expanded contract opportunities for small minority business, and signed an executive order to give formerly incarcerated people a second chance. Karen Bass is about real change. I'm Samuel L. Jackson, and I've seen a lot of people talk tough. Karen Bass is tough. That's why I'm voting for Karen Bass, and you should too. So vote today. You received your ballot in the mail by now. You don't even have to go to the polls. Just fill out your ballot and hand it to your postal worker. No stamp needed.
Paid for by re-elect Karen Bass for Mayor 2026, 445 South Figueroa Street, Suite 2400, Los Angeles, California, 90071. Funding details at ethics.lacity.gov.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
And we are your election information station. We take that job very seriously. If you are taking your job as an informed member of the electorate seriously, and I know that you are, you're going to want to go wherever you get your pods and find our candidate interviews. They're also available on YouTube, and there are lots of them. One of the areas we've focused specifically on is folks running for LA County Superior Court Judge, because many times we need more information in that area. Well, today is no exception. We have a candidate sitting in studio right now. She came to Los Angeles back in 1980 as a young child after her family fled the civil war in Nicaragua. They didn't speak a lot of English, but they had a big belief in this country, she says, and they helped shape her life. Gloria Marin, attorney Gloria Marin, is running for LA County Municipal Court Judge for seat 176. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. You spent most of your work life as a prosecutor, right?
Yes.
And tell me how you got from, migrant from another country to prosecutor.
So, so I grew up in Nicaragua during a time of civil war. So I grew up experiencing what it's like to have bombs going on around you, being shot at during protests as a child, because my mom would take me to the protests. And it just became, we were displaced during the war, and my parents decided to come here to have a better life for their kids. And so when I arrived in this country, I didn't speak English. I went through the same types of discrimination as many others experienced because, people at that time didn't know where Nicaragua was. There was an Iran-Contra stuff going on. And so I grew up being ashamed of my background. And I grew up not feeling like I belonged. I was undocumented, so I know what it's like to live in the shadows of not being part of this country or not having papers. And then I was, when I became a citizen, I really cherish the rights that we enjoy here, because in Nicaragua we didn't have rights to free speech. We didn't have rights to, be able to protest or speak out against the government. There was no due process at all. And so that's the background from which I came. And when I went to school, I had to be bused. I was part of the PWT program in the 80s. I was bused from the inner city out to the suburbia valley. I went to Taft. At that time, I experienced more directly discrimination from my teachers, for example, and they were very open about their dislike of me because I didn't feel like I belonged in the school. I went to school, for example, with Ice Cube at the same time. We were both bused out there, so I understood that I was definitely an outsider, and I grew up with that feeling. So when I graduated college, I took a job just because I needed a job. It happened to be in the district attorney's office. And my job was to go to court with victims of crime, help them get restraining orders in domestic violence type related cases. I would help sexual assault victims go to court and navigate the system. And at that time, the OJ case was happening.
Oh, wow.
And that was an exciting time to be in that building, to see and experience what a trial was like. And that's why I decided to go to law school. So I was working during the day. I went to law school at night. I worked my way. It was very, very difficult. And ultimately, when I graduated, I did some civil law. I did workman's comp, civil, and eventually I became a DA. So I've been in public service for a very long time, over 30 years. And it just so happened that I ended up in the district attorney's office where I prosecuted. I became a sex crimes DA for 6 years, so because of my background. And I worked with victims of child abuse, sexual assault, and it was a very rewarding work because I got to work with really extraordinary people who had to do very difficult things.
You also worked as a deputy in the juvenile office in Inglewood, right?
Right. So when George Gascon took over, he appointed me the deputy in charge of the juvenile office in Inglewood, which was a full coming around for me because I grew up in Inglewood, lived there for some time, and that was during the time where the public really demanded us to really evaluate and go toward a restorative justice system and not the same old cookie cutter system we had in the past. So it was my job to try to make those changes. And, there was a lot of resistance in many different ways. I had to deal with parents who were unhappy their kids were in the system. Other parents wanted their kids to be in the system. I had to make really serious decisions about children that were committing serious crimes, but they were still children. And so, it was hard to find programs in the community that could maybe help us, rehabilitate those kids. And I did that for 5 years. So that was also a very rewarding, very difficult job, but it was, it was definitely a work that I did with a lot of passion.
So, based on what you're saying, give us a little bit more about your feelings around restorative justice.
Yes, so restorative justice, I think, is often looked at as an opposite to public safety. And I think that the two can go hand in hand. I think you can't just say we want all restorative justice and no public safety. There has to be a balance. So when people for example, experience in the minority communities more crime than you would in other communities, that's not going to help or solve anybody. People need to feel safe and be able to, kids should be able to walk to school safely. But at the same time, that does not mean that you should just incarcerate everybody. That cookie cutter mentality hasn't worked. It has created distrust in the system. It's created a lot of anger in the community, and it's just not helpful. So my view is that we judges and everybody participating in the system should look at a more balanced approach. You should look at violent offenders differently than nonviolent offenders. You should evaluate people as individuals, not statistics, or you commit this crime, therefore you're going to have this mandatory sentence. In a more balanced approach that's transparent to the public, I think will restore public faith in the system.
Why do you want to be a judge?
So, yeah, it's a lifelong journey for me. As I talked about my past, being a migrant, but I also have vast experience. I have a life experience as well as legal experience. My life experience is unique. And I think that unique perspective will be good for to bring diversity to the court. We just don't have enough diversity of thought in the court. It's very difficult to run for judge. Most of the time you need a lot of money. You need to have a lot of, connections, of which I don't have. I'm very grassroots. And, but I think that I'm tired of people complaining about the system and what's wrong with it. I want to go in and do something that will fix it, or at least change the conversation. So by having my perspective, being able to understand people from where they come from, their struggles, their experience, I think that is the reason why I really want to come forward and step up to the plate and offer myself as a candidate.
Do you think, or how do you think, if you do, your experience as a migrant and what you described as far as being an outsider, or the journey of going from living in the shadows to having citizenship, how would that impact your work on the bench?
So, for example, I understand people who say, well, I don't trust the police, or I don't think the system is fair. I hear it every day from jurors, from defense attorneys, from everybody that's justice involved. And as a judge who has that experience, my experience, who has the ability to say, look, I'm different, I sound different, I look different than most judges, I can hopefully provide a courtroom where everyone will be seen and heard, where I understand, for example, if people are late to court, I understand maybe that person had to take public transportation, and someone who takes the bus to work every day, I understand that sometimes buses break down or they're not as reliable. And that perspective, I think, will be more compassionate in the courtroom, to bring that compassion, to be transparent, to be someone that people feel comfortable making the decision that really affects their life. If you come across as someone that doesn't care, then your decisions won't be respected.
It's interesting. We were talking about this yesterday off the air. There are a number of judicial candidates that are running unopposed, right? So they won't be here with me doing interviews. They probably won't have to go through much scrutiny. Yeah. How does that work? Like, and why is that? How does that work out? How do you have like 5, 6, 7 people in one seat, and then in another seat there's only one person?
Yes, it's just very random. So
but is that fair? Should that change?
Well, it's up to the public to decide. The way judges are selected are either appointed by the governor or elected.
Right.
When there are open seats, so a judge retires or decides they don't want to run again, those open seats are available. But people don't always know which are the judges that are going to retire and not put their papers in until the very last minute. And so what happens is, in that very last minute, people jump to a seat that they think will maybe be a less competitive seat. And in that rush, if you have, for example, enough money to pay consultants or things like of that nature, then they're going to pick the seats that are more beneficial, perhaps being unopposed. That's just the way it is, and it's just a random, crazy system. But that's what we have here in LA County.
You're also a cancer survivor. How does that change your outlook? Your outlook as a would it change potentially your outlook as a judge?
Thank you. Yes, being a cancer survivor is something that when you experience that and you think that you can potentially lose your life, it really changes how you think about what's important and what's not important. And you really cherish the things that are, that are not based on power or money or anything like that. You really cherish just your relationships. What have I done? What is my purpose in life? Have I done achieved what I've been brought on this earth to achieve? And going through that thought process and that experience emboldened me to say, okay, I want to do more. When I get better, I want to do more for my community. I want to do more for my family. And it gave me more of a stronger sense of wanting to to improve my community and to at least do what I can to make things better.
Okay, let's talk about your endorsements a little bit here.
Yes, so I've been endorsed by various Democratic clubs, such as Avance, the Northeast Democratic Club, the Democrats for Neighborhood Action. I've been endorsed by Avance, Victims of Crime PAC, unions, labor unions. So really a vast representation of the community of Los Angeles, and I'm very proud to have the endorsement. I just got the endorsement of the Chinese Citizens Alliance group, and the Nepalese group. It's also interesting. So to be able to, bring together all kinds of our members of our community, I think is really very honoring to me, and I'm very proud of my endorsements.
And you've also been endorsed by the Association of Deputy District Attorneys, coming from the prosecutorial side. A lot of folks may have the impression that means you're just kind of more on the suppression side, we'll call maybe the prosecutor, lock them up, throw away the key side.
Right, and I understand that, but it's I don't look like that. I don't sound like that. When I walk into the courtroom, I really speak to, for example, jurors, and I say, "Hey, you got to hold me accountable too. If I don't convince you, you must, vote not guilty." So I don't come from that hard-charging, throw the book at somebody. I don't want to be that kind of judge that is just a tough on crime type of person. I've never been that type of prosecutor. I look at the job as more from a compassionate and realistic sense, and I'm not someone who, in order to make myself advance, I'm trying to be, sound as, tough on crime. And I think it's not authentic. That's not who I am. I'm really someone who, treats people like human beings. Some people, good people do bad things, bad people do good things. What is a bad thing? What is a good thing? That's my philosophy. And I think everyone should be treated with dignity. And I hope people don't just label me as, a prosecutor and decide that I'm not going to be a judge for them. I hope people really look at what I stand for, what I believe in, and that they really see me as Gloria Marin, not as, just my label of what my job title is.
Gloria Marin for Judge.com, that's spelled out FOR, Gloria Marin for Judge. You've got 60 seconds here. Give us your elevator pitch why we should vote for you.
Well, as I said, I have breadth of experience. I've done civil, workman's comp, criminal law. I have also been in management positions where I've had to make the tough decisions of evaluating cases, evaluating backgrounds of individuals, and deciding where can we take a chance on an individual and do some restorative justice, and where, does the public safety issue matter more. And so I've had those decisions. I've made those decisions. I've had to at times hold police officers accountable, hold witnesses accountable. For example, if I think someone's lying, I'm not going to pursue that case or anything like that. So I've made those tough decisions, which as a judge, I think is most important. Can you be decisive? Can you be compassionate? And I think I can be both those things based on my background and my experience.
Well, Gloria Marin, thank you so much. Attorney Gloria Marin, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you spending the time with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
She is running for seat number 176, LA County Municipal Court. It's the perfect time to call me, 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
My name is Cynthia Mitchell. I've been an emergency room nurse in Los Angeles County for 25 years. I've been there through every fire season, every outbreak, every earthquake. Every time Los Angeles needed us, the doctors and nurses of Los Angeles County showed up. And right now, I'm seeing another disaster coming. Trump's cuts to Los Angeles County's healthcare system are a public health crisis in the making. Medi-Cal, public hospitals, disaster preparedness are all at risk, but we can stop it. Measure ER fights back against these cuts. For a half a penny, we keep emergency rooms open, care within reach for working families, and doctors and nurses serving the communities we love. When you vote yes on Measure ER, you're not just voting for health care, you're voting for LA. Vote yes on Measure ER by June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Yes on ER, Restore Healthcare for Angelinos, sponsored by St. John's Community Health and Health Justice Action Fund. Ad committee top funder, St. John's Community Health.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for State Superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee. Not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds, and you're overweight. Winner, winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you, with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you gotta call Big Lou, because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds too. Get a quote right now at 800-511-3535, 800-511-3535, or biglou.com.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, we just got but a little over 2 weeks until Election Day. You can start voting right now. Miles, you've been here for more of the candidate interviews than I have this cycle because I went on vacation. James Farr was here. Are these interviews and conversations, are they getting you ready to vote? Do you feel like, because you've met and seen and heard so many of these candidates, do you feel more prepared?
I feel like I know a lot more about the candidates. I do understand why. I understand why people are getting. I guess some people weren't engaged to begin with, but I see where it gets kind of confusing. They're trying to keep up with everything, so I do understand why everybody's still asking for the Dominique DePrima voting guide.
Yeah, but what? The station management has asked us not to endorse candidates this time. And I've always done that. I mean, as a talk radio, an opinion radio person, I've always endorsed. Of course, we can go to fundraiser, whatever we want to do on our private time. So I'm not sure how station management would feel about me doing a voter guide. So maybe I'll do a secret one just for my friends.
we can put some AI on it and make it look like it's, it's influencer.
Oh, we can. Yeah, well.
Dominique the Diva or whatever.
Yeah, right. My alter ego, my Sasha Fierce voter guide. Let me think that through, because I'm definitely not trying to get fired over a voting guide. But I do think that I tend to compare a lot of voting guides, and where does the LA County Democratic Party disagree with the LA Progressive? Where does Congresswoman Maxine Waters' guide differ from Sidney Comlager's voting guide? And that helps me. So I understand why people. The reason I started doing voting guides is because people were asking me for them.
Right. Well, I want to say this though, Dominique, on behalf of the entire KBLA delegation, myself, Prince Akili, everybody that tunes in every day. I want to thank you, Dominique, because you and James Farr, when he fills in, you guys have been doing a great job covering these candidates and keeping us up to date and staying consistent, asking the hard questions, not letting up on anybody when they try to scurry up out of there. It's really a masterpiece and to watch you guys do this every day. So yeah, I appreciate it, and I'm sure the entire KBLA delegation does as well.
Thank you, Miles, and just check them out. They're all up on YouTube. They're all wherever you find your pods. If you're still confused like I am with a couple of races here and there, well, tap in. All right, we're talking extremism next hour, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation because this is a part of actually every election conversation, or should be. Dr. Cynthia Miller Idris is joining us. She's the founding director of the Polarization and Extremism Research and Innovation Lab, or Peril. Yeah, that's next on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Esther Dillard with BIN News Now. ICE will not help with security at the 8 FIFA World Cup matches at SoFi